I hate to do it. I hate to start us off with a negative one, but maybe you don't actually want to learn the language. Maybe you just like the idea of telling everyone that you are learning a language, or the idea in your head of riding down the Autobahn, speaking German, riding in a BMW, just freaking yes, yes, or BMW. I should say BMW. You don't really want to do it, all right? And you haven't admitted that, because everything else that you've wanted to do in life, like go grab a drink of water, you just do. Somehow you just kind of do it, and you know that's true, all right? And so it's stupid to start off with a negative one. I think I would like to call myself a practical optimist in life, but sometimes you meet people that say they want to learn a language, and if you're not putting it in, I just don't know what to tell you. Like, you have to be someone who understands yourself, which is also at the center of our language learning, of our course, of artificial immersion, which is the name of our method. You gotta really wanna do this, all right? And you gotta be honest with yourself on that. And so we'll go from there to switching it immediately to another one. Why do you think you're bad at learning languages? Who told you that? Whose thought got in your head? What sort of experiences are you really counting as evidence for you being bad at language learning? Who? How? How do you know? You do 15 minutes a day. You change your materials all the time. Take long breaks in between. Are you bad? I mean, I don't know. Like, have you ever put in a solid stretch? Where's that large stretch of time where we can count on 4 hours a day for, you know, a good 30 days, some month? Like, when have you actually done it for real and known that what you're doing shows results? Like, you don't have the data to say that you're bad at learning languages. Now back to the negative one. The CIA has their operatives, and you guys can check out our CIA video. We'll link it right down below or up here. Take aptitude tests, right? They're taking all sorts of tests. You can also do this. You can do this in language learning to show whether or not you are actually good or showing some sort of gift, let's say, in language learning. Now, this does not mean, regardless, in the same way of everybody trying to become a professional athlete or whatever, that some guys aren't gifted, that they're not better. It doesn't mean that you, who is not quote unquote gifted like Michael Jordan, that you cannot get better at basketball. You can, and you can get incredibly. Like, how many of you are topping out at your potential? Some of you aren't actually good at learning language, but it doesn't mean that you cannot get better and that you can't actually get to the point where you're communicating. And part of the problem across the entire sphere of language learning in general is that communication is not the goal. People are either trying to be perfect or too afraid to speak, right? Or not having any sort of aim for real. You want to be able to, the ethos here at our company, GOLUREMI Languages, seek to understand and seek to be understood. That is it. That is the first point. Perfection, excellence, all that stuff you are going to build on. You build on that. You can get there. That comes through a series of constant, repetitive actions that you do, regardless of what's going on around you, or regardless of necessarily what you're seeing, believing that in the end, you are going to get there. Okay? The people that show that sort of resilience, generally speaking, obviously really know they want to learn the language, and then they don't care about what it is that they have to do. I have seen people come into and take our artificial immersion intense, literally expecting to just be able to speak a couple words to get just a little bit. And then once it gets going, you guys have no idea what happens to you when you get momentum. Because when you're seeking to communicate and you're actually making that human connection, which we'll get to the AI here in a second. But when you're making that human connection and you're seeing that change and it's starting to affect your life, you have no idea. In the same way that it's hard for us to understand compound interest, when momentum gets going and chugging, you have no idea. It is absolutely one of the best things ever to see people having an actual effect on others around them, and what that does to change them and how much they then hone in and focus. So if you've never experienced that, you're missing out. All right. And you're missing out just for you, also just for your own pleasure, like what it's like to then watch a show and take off the subtitles. Like, have you ever gotten there? Have you ever said something or cursed in another language because you had the language, you were that much, you'd shifted your life so much that it just came out of you, right? Because if you're not experiencing those things, you guys are missing out on all the fun of language learning. That is where it's at, right? The beginning phase there, I know it's fun because you get all the dopamine, you got the books, you buy all the stuff, you get all there, you get out there and blah, 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 blah. No, deeper learning. That's what's going to get you there. This one, actually, I can't say without it being controversial, even the lightest. And I don't necessarily know that I'm going to use this because Dennis Rodman would probably do that. All right. I didn't have time to color my hair today, but okay. People constantly searching for the newest material, the best, the thing. Where's that? Where's the thing? Right? I want to learn a language. It's cool. I see what you got there. I'm going to try your thing here first. No, I'm not concerned about me and like how I learn and all that stuff. No. You got something. There's always an external thing and they've got it. That's the answer. And you go search for that and that's not that. And okay, I want to do this. That's not that. Oh, well, I didn't really do this method like all that well. I didn't really do it, but it's no big deal. It's not that. Let me go try this one and then this one and this one. Stop searching for different things, right? That's also one of the very first things you're going to find in our course. It's going to be telling you, once we have our material, once we understand where we're going, we are going to hone in on this. The time for you to make assessments and adjustments in your material, right, is going to be after you have solidified and tried to get a goal out of it. You don't know if it works unless you have a goal of something that you're trying to achieve, right? So I want to be able to speak here. I want to be able to have a conversation at the bar with the bartender, order my drink, and I don't want him to have to ask to like, what are you saying? Like, what? I want to be able to do that without a problem. And we're going to go and do that and test. All right. So a lot of the language learning, this is just a small tangent, but within the language learning sphere is how important it is for you to obviously have a goal, but you have to build a base at the same time. It's not going to be good for you to be able to ask the bartender for a beer, but not know where to ask for the toilet because you need to go pee. Like that's not going to work. You need to know some of these bases. What are you doing? Where's the bathroom? I'm hungry, etc. Right? And so you do have to have a focus on this whole base, but you also need to make sure, bam, I'm doing it. I can hit this mark. In this situation, I am proficient. I can talk. This is also a thing, and I'm all for it. And so I'm careful with the way that I want to word this. Everybody is going to be different. That's for sure. But 15 minutes a day, if you are okay in understanding that 15 minutes a day will get you there, but it will get you there at the same pace as a marathon runner when, in my opinion, you are still running a marathon. All right? And think of this as a relay race. You still want to make sure that you have a few places where you're kicking. You want to kick and have a sprint, and then you want to coast, and then you want to sprint again. That's how we do language learning. 15 minutes a day is a marathon forever. It's a long one. It will work. And I think it's a great method. And I think, we've had people on who really talk about that. They do more than 15 minutes a day. I'm like Alexander Arguelles.
15 minutes was basically what I found one of the main best methods I have found for teaching myself languages is published by a French company called Assimil. I don't know if you know them. Assimil. Yes. If you don't, you should. Yes, Assimil. And so they work by bilingual text columns. You have this recording only in the target language. Bilingual text columns, little footnotes. The nature of these, each course is different, but by nature that they're very short lessons. So you can kind of do and review one of these lessons and also review a past couple of lessons and learn a new lesson at a relatively good rate. And so 15 minutes a day is about what it would take to make, slow but steady progress through a method like this and get it to a year.
Tremendous guy. I have so much respect for that guy. Brilliant, really. And just for so many different reasons. I'd love to have him back on. But, he talked about when he wanted to study a ton of different languages, he was just running through them at 15 minutes. That's what people don't really remember. Like, here's a guy who's extremely motivated to learn. He's flipping through several languages at one time to 15 minutes a day. Boom, 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 this one. And that's what he found, and so maybe we could throw up the clip there where he's talking about that in the podcast that we did with him. But I want the point that I'm trying to get across here is that you get out of this what you put in. And those of you who don't want to change your lives in order to accommodate language learning, right, it's going to take longer. And that's something that's holding you back. And it's worthwhile for you to just have an assessment to say, I'm not spending any of my quality hours, my quality brain power time learning a language. I'm waiting until I do all of my work. You get tired. I'm waiting until I eat, or until everybody goes to bed. And then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do 15 minutes of Duolingo. Like, what? Here's another one, because I constantly do things that my team is pissed off at, but some of you might be addicted to listening to these types of videos. It's great, and you always need to check in, but this is also, I'm obviously not supposed to say this, but like once you've got a good idea from what it is that needs to be done, get to doing it. Stop watching these videos. Just stop. I don't care. Like, I don't need to do this either. I enjoy saving people from the worst app ever. Let's throw that up there. Let's use the board today. Oh, no. Bam. No Duo. That looks bad. I get it. I get it. You guys know the point. Just don't do Duolingo. No. In a very real sense, you guys hopefully understand what I mean by that. You do need to learn more, and you do need to get comfortable and get an understanding, watch a whole bunch of videos, binge, take some own notes, take some of your own notes and really get it in there. But the method that we've created, artificial immersion, in our course, is the whole idea is for you to assimilate these principles, the ones that we know will work, and want you to avoid the stuff that is keeping you from being able to learn a language. And then we want you to take those principles and go off on your own. You don't need us anymore. That's the whole point. All right. You take that in, and now I can learn this language and this next language and the next one and the next one, the next one. You assimilate and you internalize this knowledge, and then you're free. You don't need to check in. You get it, and you can act from that, and then you're good. That's the type of system that I want you guys to be able to build for yourself. That is it. This has been good, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's always a good day when you can get this out here, when you can start spreading this news, save a few souls. All right. Because just, like when you're out there doing the good work, I know many of you guys do a lot of great stuff out there. A lot of you guys are doing some real good stuff. We got military service people, we got doctors, we've had a whole host of people, psychologists, psychiatrists. We've had a lot of those people come in and trying to learn a language to really make this human connection with it. You guys are doing the real stuff, but that's important. All that stuff that you guys are doing. But if you could just take whatever, just one a day. If you could just tell one person every day, just tell them this. That's it. It's enough to open their brain. Do you speak? Have you ever met anyone that learned all from this? It's a supplement. It's a supplement. Great. Is that the best supplement? Whatever.